Want to have your very own free-range egg farming business? Welcome to Green Grass Egg Farming Podcast with Daniel O'Brien, the show dedicated to giving you the latest tips, ideas and interviews to help you produce the best tasting free-range eggs and sell your eggs for the highest price. And here's your host, Daniel O'Brien.
Daniel O'Brien here. Welcome back to greengrasseggfarming.com. My special guest today is Marnie Ellis from Gippsland Free Range Eggs. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the importance of branding and knowing your target audience. So, Marnie, tell me why that's important.
Thanks, Daniel. Probably the biggest thing we found when we started was the importance of branding or is to help people feel connected. I know when we first started, we only had 30 hens, and a local marketing person here said, we'll get your logo and we'll organise your website. And I thought that was ridiculous because we only had 30 hens. But I realised pretty quick that you can build a story. You know, people want to know what you're doing. And even though we had 30 hens, by providing creating a logo that says, okay, this is Gippsland Free Range Eggs, you're going to see this logo around a bit more. We sort of got talking, things started evolving from there, and the logo popped up and we got the website going. We were able to share a story, and that's what I think is really, really important. People start to feel connected, and they want to be a part of what we're doing, or they wanted to grow with us as we grew. And that's one of the main reasons, one of the things that I see is of real benefit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's interesting you say the story. Like, one thing I find in so much food today, like, it's got no transparency. It's like you go to the shops, you buy some bacon. You don't know, like, did it come from Australia? Did it come from overseas? What state of Australia it did come? It's very unconnected. So yeah. I think you're right. When someone can pick up a product and they can find out a bit more about it, I think that connection is really important, and it is refreshing because we don't see it.
Yeah, and that's what I find is, I have people will send me messages or, see me in the street and say, oh, your eggs remind me of when I stayed at my grandparents when I was a kid, or we drove past your farm on the weekend and we realised, we saw the logo and we realised it was your place, and they get all excited about it, and they want to know what's happening next, and they want to know, what else do you do, or when can we get the eggs? When's the gate open? When's this happening? And it's almost like they become a part of your business, and they like to tell people that they know you or they've spoken to you, or, they have friends down from Melbourne on the weekend and they say, oh, we've got to go out and get eggs on Sunday morning. Yeah. So it becomes this bit of a connection, I suppose, that they can, especially to their people, their friends in the city who may not have the same opportunity as them to come out here and buy, and get fresh food, or to actually meet their farmer at the market and those sorts of things. They love it. They get a real kick out of it. Yeah,
it's interesting, like with farming, like for someone in the city, like you mentioned, like they have the opportunity to come out to your farm. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people, they just don't have the opportunity to connect with a farm. Like most farms, the gate's closed. Unless you know someone with a farm, we can't just go out tomorrow and go visit a farm.
Yeah. Yeah, so, well, you could, but I don't think you'd be you might not be well responded.
Who are you, and why are you looking around? But that they can live through your experience of owning a farm, and do you feel that some of the struggle with that is you and I take it for granted? There's chooks out in the paddock, there's some cows as well, the sun's shining, and it's normal to you.
Yep, absolutely.
So how do you find sort of conveying that message to remember that it's not normal to your customers?
Oh, it's probably our monthly markets at local township here in Traralgon is probably the best reminder of that, because we go in there, the day before, we're busy, we're packing, we're putting things together, thinking, what are all normal people doing when they're not working till late at night packing eggs and all this sort of stuff. And we get to the market and we've got customers, the same customers are generally there early in the morning, and they're all happy and they want to say that they've got their friend here today and we've brought them down to buy eggs, or, we drove out on the weekend and we saw your dogs over the fence. And it's a pretty good reminder that we have got a pretty good life, but to most people it's not the norm. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up in agriculture. I grew up on farms, not chook farms, beef and sheep farms, but still, to me, that's normal. To my children, that's normal. But when we do meet with people, like I say, at the market, or when we have school groups out, school groups is another great one because kids come out and it's like they've been let out of a box. They go running
Yes.
across, and we're only on 40 acres, but they do have access to all of it where the chook enclosures aren't. But they go running across the paddock and they get excited about open air and they get all excited about the chooks, and that's a really good reminder every now and again that what we do isn't the norm to a lot of people, and that we
Yes.
probably need to be able to share it and open our doors probably even more than we do, and allow more people to come and see what we do, or not even if it's not to see what we do, to allow them to connect with their food. It might not be eggs, it might be someone at an orchard, it might be, I don't know, someone growing free range pork. But the more people that connect with their food, the more of an asset they're going to be to your business long term.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So when you talk about branding, so like branding is a logo, but it's also you of like who you are, what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a few other aspects that you've learnt since you've started of the importance of branding, and whether it be sort of your logo or you, or like
Yeah.
what are some other aspects of branding?
The logo was, like I say at the start, was definitely a big part of it, and it's a basic logo. I didn't want anything over the top, so it almost looks like a bit of a cartoon drawing. But that all of a sudden became the face of Gippsland Free Range Eggs was about. But then for us, I realised that people wanted to know who was behind it. Okay, here's a logo. Okay, we know that that's Gippsland Free Range Eggs, but who is Marnie? Who is Shane? Who are who are their children? Where do they live? What do they do? At the start, I found that a little bit confronting because people wanted to really almost get a piece of us to know,
Yeah,
exactly who we were. But the reality is, it's a bit like I found the pictures of us as a family, or you know, pictures of the kids and uploads of the kids doing things on the farm, or introducing them to the kids at the open days and allowing the kids to talk about, like our boys, to talk about what it is that they do here or an aspect of the farm. All of a sudden people realize that they're real, that we are
yeah,
real. We're a family, we're not a corporation, we're not a big business, we're not employing loads and loads of people. We do have a few employees, but that it's more about a family farming business. And I find that allowing people to know the faces behind the business has been massive. It's a really big deal. And like I said, people love that. People love that they can know their farmer. I mean, you see things going around now about, meet your farmer, know your farmer.
yeah.
And again, I used to think that was all a bit silly because I think we're just farming,
Yes.
it's really not that big a deal. But
Yeah.
to people who don't have the same opportunities and who don't have the land, or who don't have the knowledge and the know-how to be able to do that sort of thing, it's a really important part in opening up those doors and knocking down those barriers where people just have to go and buy food, whatever food that may be, and not know its background, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. No, one thing I like when you said like, who is behind it? Because like you said, like logo, that's the face of the business, but people want to know who's behind it, and you said so they know that you're real.
Mm. Yep.
And I think because we're in a society of there's so much digital stuff, we've got Facebook and we're all on our phones, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's either not real or you don't know if it's real, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to hide behind, let's just put up a new logo and start a company or something. And unfortunately, in the egg market in Australia, there's nothing stopping me tomorrow to go into Sydney markets or Brisbane markets, get a pallet worth of eggs and pack them under my brand
Yeah.
and sell them.
Yeah, and that's the hard bit. That's where, for us, especially with eggs, as you know, because there's not that not all those things in place that stop you from doing that, or stop anyone from doing that. That was a really big part of us knowing our audience and running a transparent sort of a transparent farm where people can actually see what's going on, meet us, know what we do, know that they can ask us questions, know they can ring us if they need to, if they have a bad day, have a bad something, they might have an egg that they're not sure, that they're unsure of. I had a lady call the other day and wanted to know why there was one white egg in a whole carton of brown eggs, and it just happened that, as you know, every now and again from Isa Brown's we have light colour eggs, and I hadn't thought of it when I packed it, but she rang the number on the box. She got me directly, spoke to me, happy as, thanked me very much for my time, and then emailed me later and said, you were right, there's nothing wrong with that egg, it's just a light colour and the others are brown.
Yeah.
And that's not a huge big deal, but if that person purchased that from another company or another supplier that they couldn't then access a person who produced that egg or packed that egg, there's a fair chance they may not have eaten it, and a fair chance they may not have purchased that carton again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's so good. And one thing I'm passionate about with small farms doing exactly what you did there, like just letting customers have access to you, you can win against the big players, because Coles and Woolworths couldn't do that. Like if I walked up to the cash register and I said, oh, you had some other eggs last week and they're not there. Are they out of stock, or have you stopped stocking them? They wouldn't have a clue. It's like, I don't know, do you want me to get a manager or something? And then the manager, they probably wouldn't have a clue either.
Yeah.
And you realise how so disconnected. Yes, it's convenient to shop at Coles and Woolies, but the actual connected to the food, it's just not there. So when you can offer it, you're doing something that they're not, and it's just differentiating you in the marketplace. And just that alone gives people the confidence that they are getting better quality food.
Yep. And they're getting what they paid for. Exactly what it says on the packaging is what they're getting. And if you can give them that confidence, they're going to be coming back for more eggs. Fair chance they're going to tell their friends about these eggs, and they're just down the road. And did you know we can go out there on open days, or we can go out to the farm to buy eggs, and people talk. If you open yourself up and allow yourself to meet these people and have the conversations, like I say, the farmers market is a classic place for talking about everything. You become, they'll come in, they go, oh, this is the chook lady, this is Marnie. And they'll, and then they'll say, oh, we're having trouble with their backyard chooks, what do you know about this? And they really feel like they can talk to you about their backyard chooks and their problems in their backyard and those sorts of things. And it's funny how it works, but it works, and people really want to become connected. It's interesting. You're saying, like, they tell their friends, oh, here's my friend, they introduce you, and as you said, people talk. And from what you're saying there, they started being a customer and go, I want eggs, I want them in a box. And then they realise, oh, hang on, there's a face behind that logo, behind those eggs, someone that created them. And really what you're talking about, they've turned from a customer into a raving fan. Absolutely.
Because they're like, we're buying these eggs, we're telling our friends, and it's a part of their life. Like if you look at their week, and it's got so many minutes in the week, there's so many minutes of that week where they're using your eggs, they're driving to the farmer's market or out to the farm to get those eggs. They're telling a friend about them. Like, you couldn't get better marketing. Like,
no, that's right.
They, as you said very early on, they are connected with what you do. Mm-hmm. And I think, and you'd probably agree, those people, they'd be happy to be connected now forever.
Absolutely. They want to know what happens next. What are you doing? What's going to happen next on the farm? When's your next day? They're always, there's this, I can think of 3 people off the top of my head directly who monthly want to know, what are you doing this month on the farm? Can we come out? What do we, and it's, and we don't have anything on monthly at the farm, but we do, people can see over the fence, and there's these particular people that come to the market every month that it's like their monthly Saturday ritual, and it's their daily Sunday is to drive out here with their family, get eggs, the kids get out of the car, get the eggs, it's all exciting, put the money in, and then they go back home and they cook family breakfast. And that's become, Gippsland Free Range has become a part of their Sunday, their weekend Sunday ritual. Now, if someone had said that to me at the beginning, I would have laughed hilariously. Yeah. Because to me, that just seems like, really?
It just seems so corny, guys. Would someone actually do that? Really?
And they do. They drive out in their pajamas, some of them, on a Sunday morning, and are quite happy to tell me, or I greet them at the gate, and they're like, sorry, we're still in our jammies. But that's what it's become. It's become, for some people, it's become a bit of a Sunday a Sunday ritual and they know us all by name. They know my boys by name. So, at the market, it's very unusual for someone to come up and not say, hi, Shane, or hi, Marnie, directly. It's, only a handful of people because they're the repeat customers monthly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting they ask, like, what are you doing next? What's coming up? They want to go on the journey with you. That they want to feel that they're involved, because for them, they are. They buy these eggs not from a corporation, not just from the supermarket, but they're buying it from people. Like, people want to do business with other people.
Yep.
So, it's interesting. They are a part of it. They're living, for some of them, they're living their farm dream through you.
Yes, I would say almost definitely, yeah. Yeah,
that's how they're living their dream of, like, I don't have my own free-range egg farm, but I'm connected with my local one. And tell me, so with branding and really knowing your target audience, and they've found that there is a face behind the logo, behind the brand, that they're connected now, they want to come on the journey. Yep. How have you found it now when you've added other products, so that they're a raving fan, we love what you do, we buy your eggs? How have you found it when you go, by the way, we also have other products to sell?
Yeah, I've found that I need to have a lot of those other products straight away.
Okay.
Look, when we first introduced beef, the deal was we thought about it and thought, well, we'll try it with the people at the market. We'll ask a few people at the market, and I thought maybe 2 or 3 people might say, oh, that's a great idea, But it was actually a lot more than that, and we realised that it was okay. This can happen. So we started with the beef, and then it's a bit like the orchard here at home. Our excess fruit from the orchard and excess veggies from the garden here this year, I've just put at the gate, and you let people know, or say at the market, put a sign at the market, say next weekend, tomatoes at the gate. People just go, awesome, what's next? And they sort of now are just expecting that it will be more than one thing, that we do more than one thing, and there'll be something else coming up. So that the eggs almost gave us like a captive audience, I suppose, and they were and are extremely interested in what we do and how we farm.
Yeah.
That anything else now that we bring into the mix, those people are already sold.
Yeah.
They might not, down the track it might be honey. They might not be honey eaters, but they will know somebody that eats honey.
Yes.
So it's been a really worthwhile thing to have done, and I'm really glad. I mean, I am a people person, and I love being around other people, and I love talking, which is quite evident at times. But it's a really big part of it, and that's been, I thought it was at the start. It's just this chicken logo was, oh, okay, that's a bit silly. We've only got 30 hens, but that now tells people exactly who we are, what we do, and the things that come on board now are just a bonus to those people, because they can access more things or find out information about other things through us, and it's huge. Yeah, don't underestimate it. Is what I tell anybody. It's huge.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Just starting with those eggs, almost in a business terminology, as a lead product. Buy the eggs first, but also, as we just talked about, it's not just the eggs, it's the who you are, the face behind it, the being connected. And then it's a case of, as you said, oh, by the way, we've got some beef. Who's interested? Well, everyone, because they're not customers. They're raving fans now. So it's like, what else have you got coming up? And I think that's so interesting that they want to do that journey with you. What's coming next? It's almost like a sequel. You bring out one movie and they want another one, another one.
You don't tell my husband that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But it's a funny thing. I look at the way that people want to be connected, and it is there's a lot, I have people say, oh, this is exactly like my parents used to farm, or the way that my grandparents used to farm. And I think as people become a little bit more, I don't know if unhappy is the word, but I suppose I'll use the word unhappy with food that they buy in the supermarket, and it's packaged, and it's packaged here, but it's not all from Australia. Some bits are from Australia. And I think as more people become really aware about what they're putting in their bodies, and they want to know that it's real food. For some people, it might not be that it's real, or that it might not be the actual fact that it's real food. It might be that it's from really local.
Yes.
As you know, our business model is all based around very local, and I know that a lot of people initially come on board because we were local. It wasn't that, they said, oh, we can actually get free range eggs cheaper somewhere else, but we're going to use yours because you're from here. So it's not necessarily all about the connectedness to the food. It might be the food miles might have had something to do with some of it. So it's mind-blowing how intricate it is, but also how so many people want to know, and especially we've seen an uptake of it in the 5 years, of just how connected they want to be, or just how, they want to know where their food comes from, or they want to know where it was grown, or they want to know what that animal ate in the lead up to it producing that egg,
Yeah. Yeah, and really, like, all of those things you're talking about, they're emotional decisions.
Yes.
It's like when they say, oh, these are like the eggs that I remember from mum and dad's farm or grandpa's farm. That's a memory, which is an emotion. Or it's a case of, I want to get something local. That's an emotional, like they're attached, they're part of a community. That's important to them.
Yes.
And as you said, it's crazy to think people would make their buying decisions based on, we know the person behind the logo, or because it's local. But it's true, and we all do. We all do, and we want that level of trust and transparency. So
yeah, there's people I know, there's two lots of people that come to mind directly that used to have hens in their backyard, and they like to go away on holidays, and they always had the trouble over Christmas of who's going to look after the hens. So they said to me, really, Marnie, for the amount that we were feeding our chooks and the amount that the wild birds were eating, and for the amount of eggs we're getting, we've decided we're not going to have chooks, but we're just going to buy your eggs all the time.
yeah.
So, there's people who made a decision not to have their backyard animals because they still feel like they can have that bit of a connection, but not have all the responsibility that goes with it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So let's just recap. So if someone's starting out, what do we need for a logo? So we're going to need a logo, is that right?
Absolutely, yep. And it doesn't have to be big and glossy, and it just needs to sort of encompass exactly what you're about, or what your business is about.
Yep. Okay. So we've got a logo. So tell me, you talked about the logo is the face of the company, but people want to know who's behind it. So if I've got a logo set up, what's the next step to really show who's behind that logo?
For us, and you may have some other ideas, but for us it was a website. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous. Again, we had 30 hens, but it was a website that really only had one page at the time, and it was called About Us. Okay. And it was a bit of a background to where we came from, why we had a website and what we were about, and what our plans were over the next 2 years. And that's really all it had. And then the following 6 months, when we first started selling our eggs in outlets, we listed the outlets where we sold some of our eggs. And that sort of, people were engaged, and they were going back every now and again, and they wanted to know what was going on. And along with that, hand in hand, we started to use Facebook, and people were kept up to date through Facebook. But it was all about building a story and people getting to know who we were, what my background was, what Shane's background was, how old the kids were, what the kids did at the farm, all that sort of thing. And it just evolved, really. I did think it was silly at the beginning, but I see now that it was an integral part of where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, one great thing with Facebook, I look at it, especially for free-range egg farmers, it provides massive level of transparency, but also it's always a positive story. Like, you take a photo of hens on grass, you can't take a bad photo of that.
No.
Like,
no.
It's going to be positive. Like, you're not going to get too many comments of like, oh, I don't like the fact that the chooks are running around out in the sun. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no.
It naturally is a positive industry, and being a positive industry, it's easy to market, opposed to if you and I had an accounting practice, we can only take so many photos of the boardroom to say, we're having a board meeting.
And it's pretty exciting.
Like, yeah, who wants to come and see our boardroom? So I think it's because it is outdoor at sunshine, or even if it's outdoor and it's raining, it's still interesting. It's always changing.
Yep.
And for a person that does work in an office, if they can jump on Facebook and they can see that you've got a really thick frost this morning, and I know I've seen that on your Facebook thing, and go, oh, gee, like the hen's feet might be a bit cold, including my ears if I was down there.
Freezing.
So it's, as you said, it builds the story. And I think from there, the story, it leads to everything else. It's like they'll feel connected. They'll know who's behind it. They'll know you're real. They'll go from a customer to a fan. So,
and there's people that there's been times where, I may have been a bit slack on Facebook, and as a rule, there's generally a couple of posts a week. Some weeks I've had more time on my hands than others, and there might be one or two a day, but that's being a bit overboard, and I've got many other things I probably should be doing. But there's been times where there might have been a lapse in a week or 10 days where there might have been some information posted, but not many photos or not any photos. And I'll actually get inbox messages saying, when's the next chicken selfie? When's we need pictures of chickens. Oh, it must have been cold there this morning, especially when that frost photo went up,
Yep.
Must have been freezing there. Oh, I'm in my nice warm office, but I wish I was out there. And people actually, I forget there's people in offices all over the city who are just as interested in what we do here as people who are buying our eggs. They're just, unfortunately, they can't get our eggs, but you can help educate. I look at what we do. I can even help educate people about how to find other free-range eggs that they might not have access to ours, but when you're in the city, look for this, speak to this person, go to these markets.
Yeah.
You can also help engage people in just knowing more about their food. And it doesn't necessarily have to be our food, the food that we produce. And that, social media has been huge for that as well.
Yeah, no, it's so much easier these days. Like to have a website, to like a Facebook page, it's free. It's free to have.
Yeah.
So, and it gives us a great medium just to put information out and connect with our customers. Because if we looked at doing this 10 years ago, well, I think Facebook might have been around. I don't think anyone in Australia would have been on it back then, but it would have been a lot harder. And unless someone was driving past your farm, that's probably the level of transparency that you could have had. But today, walk anywhere in a public place and people aren't looking up, they're looking down at their phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's on their phone? Facebook, websites, like that thing's connected to the internet 24/7. So it's so easy to be connected, even being a farm. Sometimes you think like a farm, as you said, a farm, have a website, have a Facebook page. Why? It's like, why not? Like if any person, like the example, like if you had an accounting office, it's not, there's going to be exciting aspects, but it could be limited.
Yeah. Like you say, the boardroom's not going to have a facelift daily, and things aren't changing. Whereas, I could take 4 photos out here today, and they would all be different.
Yeah.
The weather will be different. We live in Victoria. We live in Gippsland. We get 4 seasons in one day.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. And I'd say don't underestimate the power of all those little things. And even if it is just a logo and just a website and a presence on Facebook, you don't have to be putting your life story on there, but just a presence, a few photos, and build the story. And people will actually grow as your story grows and as your presence grows, both as the business grows and as your presence on social media grows. People actually grow with your story, and then they get a bit engrossed about what's happening. What are they doing next?
Yeah.
Are they going to get a farm shop soon? They're going to get this soon, or they're going to be at the local market soon. And people talk, and they like and they share, and it's huge.
No, to finish up, it reminds me of when you were talking about the weather. I was down at your farm. It was a couple of years ago. You might remember this. And we're standing outside the shed talking, and suddenly I'm thinking, I'm feeling a bit cold. And I think all of us, I think there was about 4 of us talking, and this suddenly just came from nowhere. But all of us like, oh, we don't want to be the rude one to leave the conversation. And I don't know who did it. It's like, I think we need to put a jumper on it. All 4 of us went straight back to our cars.
I think it was jumpers and beanies with about 10 minutes of conversation.
Jumpers and beanies. And from memory, it wasn't like the middle of winter. So another time I went back to your farm, it was like January. I packed most of my snow gear because I realised the weather changes so much where you are.
Yeah.
So, and me being up sort of north of Sydney, I wasn't used to that weather where you're sort of standing there, sort of sunshine with shorts and a t-shirt, and like literally it was probably like over a 15-minute period, we are looking for beanies. It
dropped about 10 degrees.
But maybe if you're in Melbourne, you're sort of used to that. I was not used to that.
That's how I get around. My car and the front of my motorbike has a beanie and a coat and a pair of gloves, and it stays in there all year round.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I've spoken to you, like I think in November or something, and you go, oh yeah, it's 7 degrees today. And I'm thinking,
Heat wave.
oh no, what's going on?
And then over summer we've had 40s and 45. So
Yeah.
crazy.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think it's been, we've covered a lot of things. So the importance of branding and knowing your target audience. So appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon.
Great. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Green Grass Egg Farming Podcast. For transcripts and other free resources, please go to greengrasseggfarming.com.